Hello and welcome to our first in the series of In-House With You. I'm Gurinder Hayer, a Senior Associate here in the commercial team at HCR Law. During our discussions, we aim to bring you some top legal expertise on a range of issues facing us all. Today we kick off with an important topic, data protection. I'm delighted to be joined by Georgia Shriane, a legal director and our data protection lead here at HCR Law. Data is all around us, and using it correctly and protecting the information you hold is crucial for any organisation. The law constantly evolves, as does our compliance obligations. Now, no business wants to face a data breach. So hopefully Georgia can talk us through what to do if you do face a data breach, and more generally around the topic of data protection. Georgia, data breaches, what does the law say?
Hi, Gurinder. So the law about data breaches is fairly straightforward, which is that you should be avoiding them, obviously. And there are many ways that a data breach can arise. I suppose the worst horror story is the hacker breach, where a hacker has entered an IT system and has taken control and may have corrupted or encrypted the data entirely, may copy it, may publish it. But there are many other ways in data protection law that you can breach and have a data breach. And
if this ever does occur, often we have clients asking the question, do we need to notify the ICO? Now, as far as I'm aware, that isn't always the automatic consideration, but it obviously needs to be at the top of your thoughts. So what should a business be thinking about in terms of whether the ICO should be notified?
So the law has changed, well, not the law has changed, practice has changed on this since 2018. In 2018, we all panicked and thought that every breach would have to be reported. So missending an email would be something people were reporting to the ICO. And since then, we've had better guidance. And the ICO are quite clear now that, yeah, you must report where there is a risk of harm. And that harm is not that somebody's email address might be out there, because that is not really considered too harmful these days. But there would be harm in real life or to their, of personal identity theft or fraud or other significant real life effect, not just a missing email.
Touching on, because I think it's something that's happened probably to both of us and probably most people watching, sending an email to the wrong person. What practical steps should a business take in the event of sending an email to the wrong person?
Well, in all cases of data breach, the first step is always to have an internal record. So you would do that even if there is a minor breach that you wouldn't otherwise report to the ICO. So you would just set up an internal record. So if I send an email to the wrong Sarah Jones, then I would say to our data protection officer or manager, whoever's in charge in our organisation, I've just missent an email, and they then need to create an internal log and record as well what happened next, which is really crucial. Not only did she missend the email, but what did we do about it?
Okay, so you're touching on processes that should be in place when a data breach occurs. In terms of, so that's one end of obviously a data breach occurring, but what should a business be thinking about prior to a data breach? So what policies and procedures should they be having in place, A, to prevent data breaches happening, but in the event they do, showing that there's a system in place to try and prevent those data breaches occurring?
Yeah, so the issues often are that there are quite strict timelines around data protection breaches, reporting, and obligations. So this is not something you should be inventing on the spur of the moment. Oh, crikey, we've had a data breach, what do we do now? Yeah. Like you say, processes and procedures should be in place. There should be policies in place. There should be a nominated member of staff who knows what to do, who can be a point of contact, who can help others, who can be in charge of maintaining records, who can do the reporting, who knows what to do. And that typically is a data protection officer in a large organisation, or in a smaller organisation you'd call them a data protection manager. And I think for smaller organisations it can be a challenge, because it's often dumped in the lap of somebody randomly rather than somebody who's had enough training to be able to do that job.
Because the PR obviously places a lot of emphasis on an organisation being able to show that they've integrated principles of data protection into their process and activities. And a lot of that is not only just the policies and procedures, but also how you respond to subject access requests. And as you say, often that falls on a data protection or a data protection officer. Is there anything that clients can be thinking of to assist them in terms of a DPO? I understand HCR have rolled out a service like this. Can you talk us through what that DPO service looks like?
Yeah, it's a question we've had more and more recently, and it really reflects the fact that there are a large number of data subject access requests being made these days, that since the Ukraine war, there's been a real spike in hacker attacks and cyber attacks. And so a lot of organisations are dealing with these sort of crisis events and finding that it takes a lot of man hours to deal with it. They might not be as well trained and ready for it as they thought. They may have thought that it wouldn't happen to them, and then when it does, they're concerned as to how they're going to deal with it. So we have had a lot of requests, and we do take that role. That means that the organisation has to nominate us to be their data protection officer, and then we guide them and we make sure they have the records and the compliance processes in place. We train the staff.
So we become the organisation's DPO, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we can become the organisation's DPO. And we work then closely with whoever internally is, say, head of IT, who manages a lot of the systems. We might work with HR or the financial directors, and just to put all the systems in place, the procedures in place.
Sounds useful. You mentioned data hacking being fairly topical at the moment. Is there anything else that you've been asked or clients should be not concerned about, but certainly aware of currently, both kind of in tech and data protection?
Yeah, the hacking has spiked, and they continue to be a real problem. And there are new hacker groups evolving all the time, and the way they are working at the moment is frankly really malicious. You know, there's a lot of ransomware, a lot of holding hostage of data, a lot of threats, and often if they're not paid, they will publish. So they are. It's very much cybercrime, and it's vicious. It brings organisations totally down, and they will freeze the IT systems. But that aside, one of the questions that I've had come up a lot recently has been about AI and how the new AI software that organisations are integrating, how is that going to affect them? Are they allowed to? CCTV with AI in it, is that allowed? Especially on production lines. And the new European AI regulation as well has been topical.
Okay, interesting. So to round up today's In-House With You discussion, I know it's difficult, but could you give us 3 top tips in the event of a data breach?
First of all, internal record. You want the most extensive internal record you can, and that way you've got that to refer back to whether or not you have to report it further on. The second is be organised in advance. That it does require a little bit of preventative action and preparation, and then data breaches, data subject access requests, and all the rest doesn't need to be a crisis. And we can help with that, obviously. And then the third point I would say is when you're introducing new software, whether that's got AI functions in it or not, you need to be considering data protection throughout. So any new systems that are going to be introduced should be a concern every time.
No business wants to suffer a data breach, but as we know, data is key to the way in which businesses now operate and do business. And I think it's really important for businesses to be aware of practical steps to take in the event of a data breach. I hope you found that useful. I'm Gurinder Hayer, and I've been chatting with Georgia Shriane. For further information, visit our website at hcrlaw.com or give us a follow on LinkedIn at HCR Law.